I'm muting everybody, but please unmute your.
But there is only one way, the vegan, which, because I've been experiencing myself for many years, and I have explored this field entirely, and with my own experience, and then I had more than that, the advantage of using this vegan way onto my patients. I've been in private practice for like 35 some years, and I have been vegan for like 20 years. So more than half of my professional life, I have been vegan. So I have a lot of positive experiences for myself and tremendous experiences from the patients. So one by one, I would like to go over them and then introduce what is veganism. But I bring this presentation not because of my own experience and my own knowledge about veganism, but I really pay tribute to a lot of my patients because these are the trench soldiers. Because I explored and I did not convert myself into veganism until I got convinced myself. But these are the patients were the one, they were coming with a lot of hope and faith in me. So when I told them, and there were people, they were ready to go overnight vegan. They say, okay, doc, if you tell me, we'll do it. So I really appreciate their efforts and faith in me. So for me, they were the trench soldiers. So this is a combined presentation on behalf of my patients also, which I feel very proud about them. So I am, let me, the presentation. Okay. So I'm a practicing physician, like I said, vegan for over 20 years. I recommend vegan lifestyle to my patients to prevent many diseases in the practice. And like many of you, a lot of patients came to me. And my main problem to go into veganism was because a lot of times I had started believing in it, but I realized that people had a lot of hesitations because they said, doc, we know what you're telling is right, but somehow we cannot do it. So I explained to them that there are three steps I follow in life. There is Shravan, there is Manan, and there is Acharan. So I've been into spirituality also. So Shravan is where you gather, not just listening, but you gather all the information that you can through the internet, through the media, through the lectures, through books, whatever it takes. You read labels, whatever you take, but gather all this information and then assimilate and start brooding over it. That's Manan. Manan is a process your mind goes through. It equates the advantages versus disadvantages, rights and wrongs, and let it kind of boil within your mind. That's Manan. And the Acharan always happens if you do the Manan right. So yes, if somebody tells you, okay, veganism is good, and you say, okay, I'm going to try it from tomorrow, it doesn't work that way. So I really want people to get themselves engrossed in the vegan lifestyle and keys about it. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages, benefits, you know, side effects, whatever. So my job here is to bring you the positive image of the vegan lifestyle that I have experienced and a lot of my patients. So before we go into veganism, I think we have to create one big hurdle in a lot of, especially our Indian patients have idea that they are vegetarian. So they think that's enough. But obviously there is a big difference. So what is the difference between vegetarian diet and vegan diet? Because in my practice, I have a lot of patients, 30–40% Indian patients, they are vegetarian, but I still see a lot of diabetes, a lot of cholesterol, a lot of heart attacks. Why? And I always kept on asking myself until I got the answers by looking into the for the vegan practice, because vegetarian and veganism, the main difference is the dairy. Dairy, I'll show you with the slides, is very high in cholesterol and high in sugar and all those things which a lot of people don't know about. So the main difference between vegetarian and vegan diet is that vegetarians do not consume meat, but they can consume animal products like milk, eggs, cheese, etc. These are not allowed in the veganism. Not allowed in the sense, these are not under the principles of veganism, because there are several ways we will look into veganism. So basically, vegan diet believes in not involving any killing of any animals and not consuming any animal products. So that's why the vegan diet is much better than vegetarian diet. So vegan diet includes, like I said, no animal products, no meat, no milk, no butter, no cheese, ghee, yogurt, ice cream, no honey, no gelatin. A lot of medications, capsules are made out of gelatin, and you will see the gelatin, the source is the cow bones. So a lot of ways this non-vegan products kind of come into our daily lifestyle, and we have to sort them out and realize that this is where we are falling short. So vegan diet prevents a lot of diseases because there is a lot of disease burden going across not just United States, and we are exporting this lifestyle all over the world. There is astronomical proportion of diabetes, heart attacks, cancers, high blood pressures. All these things are going on, and there is one good solution, that is the vegan diet. So Benjamin Franklin said at once that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Right now, the Western medicine is really trending towards the treatment rather than prevention, because for the prevention, there is no medicine, there is no advantage. There is no income in preventing a disease. Of course, it is in the long run if you really understand the whole total picture at the country level. But at the individual level, at a company level, at a corporation level, there is no money in preventing. If I choose a vegan lifestyle and I become healthy, I get rid of my diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, then where else there is left there for companies to make money? So, but this common sense, which has been around for a long time, has to start descending down into our lifestyle. Prevention is better than a cure. So what would you do? The cure, like for example, one injection of a chemotherapy can cost easily insurance companies $15,000-$20,000. Nobody has any problem with that, but we never think, what if there is no cancer? What if there is no breast cancer? What if there is no diabetes? Medications that are used in diabetes are going through the roof. The cost is becoming astronomical. And a lot of people have to do without them because they just can't afford. And it's becoming even more problem in the third world countries, let alone US. Even here, it's becoming a big issue. But so prevention is definitely better than a cure. And now we are talking about the diseases. There are literally no cure. Like most of these diseases, like what are they? They are high cholesterol, diabetes, coronary artery disease, obesity, many cancers, hypertension, and many psychological disorders. These are permanently have become part of our lives. And why? They don't have to be. I remember I used to do residency between 1981 to 84. We used to see diabetes after like somebody retires, like 60, 65, right? And as I was progressing into my practice, I started seeing in 40, 50-year-old people, all right? And then suddenly I had a chat with a pediatrician. Now they're seeing type 2 diabetes, which is caused by overeating, obesity. Now they see in 8, 9-year-old kids, they are walking around like hippopotamus. They are severely obese. A friend of mine who was a pediatrician, she actually had to go and get training in how to treat diabetes at some point, because that was really showing that diabetes has become so prevalent in our society. And all these things become a permanent issue. After that, you're just on medications. And to the point that I even talk about prevention to people, and people say, Doc, just give me a pill. So the pill culture has become so prevalent, but they want to keep doing what they want to do because we are controlled at the mind level. That's why little understanding about how these diseases are created, I think is very important. So the main question comes in, of course, cholesterol is one of the major issues that we all deal with. If you ask somebody, what is cholesterol? I had tried that in my practice. Literally, if I ask 100 patients, 98 of them did not know what is cholesterol. Everybody gave me the answer, say, okay, doctor, yes, cholesterol can clog your arteries and give you a heart attack. I said, I know that, but that's the effect of it. But what is cholesterol? Why God made cholesterol? So nobody had an answer. I had two girls who gave me the right answer, which I'm going to explain to you. And they were biology students, biochemistry students, actually. So as it says, cholesterol is an organic molecule. It's a sterol, a type of lipid molecule, and it is biosynthesized by all the animal cells. because it is, and this is the most important line everybody should understand, because it is an essential structural component of all animal cell membranes. So we have trillions of cells in our body. Each and every cell has a cell wall that's made out of cholesterol. So our whole body is made out of cholesterol. There is no escaping from it. We are cholesterol. So supposing I give you a pill that will bring your cholesterol to zero, you know what will happen? That will be the best poison to kill someone. Why? Because body consumes the food. From the food, we make cholesterol first. And from that cholesterol, we make new cells. So as soon as I give a pill that will bring the cholesterol to zero, our body cannot make new cells anymore. So what happens? You die, because that's what life is about. If we keep making new cells, keep shedding the old cells, that's how we get older. We reach 80, 90, 100. Please mute yourself. So cholesterol is an important structural component of our all the cell membranes. So there is no way we can escape from the cholesterol. So it is very essential that body makes the cholesterol first. But body is smart. Body knows how much cholesterol is needed for how many cells we are producing. The problem is every single animal's body, their cell walls are made out of cholesterol. As it says, all animal cell membranes. So what does it mean? That means animals are also made out of cholesterol. So that means that every time you eat meat, including chicken and fish, because they are also animals, you are eating cholesterol. Every time you drink meat or eat cheese or yogurt or even ghee, you are consuming cholesterol. So on one hand, we are trying to reduce our cholesterol taking the pills. On the other hand, you keep adding that to your body. So by doing this, you are adding cholesterol, which is already smart enough that it can make its own cholesterol. There is no need for external cholesterol, even though FDA guidelines they put down the RDA recommended daily allowance of cholesterol. It is really not true. I have been totally vegan for 20 years and I have no problem. 20 years, if I can survive, anyone can survive. That's for sure. So external cholesterol intake is not necessary. So if you can understand that if you eat animals or animal products, you adding cholesterol burden in your body. And cholesterol, as you know, is a sticky, it leads to elevated LDL. LDL is your sticky cholesterol that clogs your arteries and that leads to heart attack. Not just the heart attack, but it also leads to dementia because it's the same arteries. It can lead to stroke, can lead to kidney failure because it's the same arteries spreading everywhere. So a lot of these incurable diseases that we call are created by consuming cholesterol. So coronary artery disease, it happens by clogging of the artery. And again, cholesterol is fat, like we talked about. It leads to obesity also. And obesity leads to other diseases like hypertension, cancers, which I'll show you in the next slides. So obesity and cancer, the link has been very well known because these are the amount of cancer burden you can have if somebody is more than normal body weight. Obesity is exploding like a pandemic throughout the world. And all this extra fat in our body becomes the storage tissues for chemicals. The external chemicals that come in our body get stored in our fat cells. And these fat cells release them slowly, causing all these kind of cancers, multiple myeloma, liver, stomach cancers, uterus, ovarian cancers, colon, rectum, breast cancer. All those things have been found to be linked with obesity. So there are a lot of misbeliefs in community, and we need to really address those before we can move further. People think that milk makes you strong. Cheese gives you a lot of protein. Ghee is good for your joints. Yogurt you need as probiotics. Eggs are needed for protein. Fish oil is good for your health. Protein powders are necessary for bodybuilding. These beliefs are totally unnecessary. And a lot of literature is available, a lot of documentaries have been created that have been shown that it's totally not necessary to go through this route. Even the Olympic champions have been vegan. And a lot of documentaries you can find on Netflix have shown uh, that people can survive, not survive, even thrive on vegan diet. So including some of the football teams and basketball teams have gone vegan, and their performance have enhanced significantly. So do we really need milk? Milk is a big misconception. Why? Because you think about it. What is milk? Milk is a product of a mother for her child. Between cow as a mother and the calf as a child, how did we get into that equation? I still have a hard time to believe. Our mother makes the milk for us. Cow makes the milk for her calf. Where do we fit in? And when did that started happening? I have no idea. It is totally unphysiological to drink cow's milk. Just because the cow is a tamed animal and it has become part of our farming, yes, it's available and it has become a big industry. But if you really start thinking about it, milk is not necessary. Every mother makes the milk for their own child. If you look at the whale's baby, the whale's milk is like ricotta cheese. Why? Because the whale's baby whale needs to grow 200 pounds a day. And cow's baby, the calf, when it's born, is 3 times the size of a human baby. In 1 year, the human baby will become this tall, but the calf will become a cow. So for them, the constituents of this milk is necessary. It's physiologically made by God or consciousness, whatever. Every child is correlated with their own mother. But to take that, snatching it away from the mother, is just not unphysiological, it's unethical, I think. So milk came from the cows, but at one time, if you really want to trace it back, and if you think about it, farming started 23,000 years ago. Before that, there was no farming. We used to live in a jungle, eat the jungle food, typical vegan diet almost. But then the farming started. With the farming came the carbohydrates, the wheat, the rice, the jowar, bajri, all those things started. And then the farmer didn't want to work. They say, well, let's tame the cow. The cow used to be wild animal. If you try to go and milk a wild cow, you will be really not see the day again, the next day again, because it will kick you out. It's just because the cow is tamed and machines are being used and machineries has been replaced and the industry has taken over. We don't know all these things. So the farming started first, made the carbohydrate as a staple diet. In fact, there are skeletons which have been dug up. They found out that the cavities started showing up in the teeth along with the farming 23,000 years back. The skeletons before that had no cavities because that's where the carbohydrates started. The carbohydrates in between the teeth are consumed by staphylococcal bacteria, and these bacteria create the acidic end products, and this acid causes the cavities. So cavities also started after the farming. The milk consumption also started farming. So if you really think about it, it's relatively a new phenomenon in the human history. So, and then of course the chicken came, then the goats came, and all the things that started, the dairy industry started. And before you know, it has proliferated all throughout the world. So milk is a big conception. We have to think deeply about it. Nobody has to take an action right now, but like I said, Shravan, Manan, and Acharan. These are the three sequence, very important. So gather all this information and brood over it in your free time. And then at some point, your mind will tell you this is not the right thing. Again, from physiological point of view, people who live at the body level, not at the mind level even, not forget about the soul level. For them, these are the facts important. Milk is high in cholesterol. Milk is high in sugar. Milk has fat. Milk is animal protein. Milk also has hormones and antibiotics. These are very important subjects that we don't even talk about it. We don't even know. We just consume our favorite dairy products, but we don't realize that this milk is not just a regular food. You cannot just say, okay, it has this much cholesterol, this much calcium, this much protein. No, it has 9 hormones in that. Because why would the hormones be there? Because it's a direct production of mother to the baby. The physiologically, mother wants the baby to grow. These growth hormones, which are part of the total 9 hormones, come in the calf's body and makes the calf grow. But we are fully grown. What do you think these hormones will do to us? I'll show you in the next slides. Same thing with antibiotics. Animals, the cows, if you see on the milk carton that cows are grazing in the green pastures in the big farms, it's not there anymore. All the animals are kept within the 4 walls. Like in small size room, they will have 10 cows. They are very close to each other. So what do? They are very easy to exchange the infections, just like COVID. They also have to deal with their viruses and all that. So what do the farmers do? They load them up with antibiotics, and so they don't get cross infections. Now, the same antibiotics which are used in veterinarian practice are the same antibiotics that are given to us. When you go to a doctor, he will give you an antibiotic and you will complain, the doctor, the antibiotic didn't work. Why? Because the same antibiotics were given to the cows, and through the milk, it came into your body. And the bacteria already knows how to fight with those antibiotics. So antibiotic resistance is becoming a huge issue. We are running out of the new antibiotics. The new antibiotics have to be invented continuously. And without that, there will be some day where we'll have no antibiotics and disease will be rampant all over. So Clostridium difficile, for example, is a bacterium that can cause tremendous diarrhea. And we used to, as a part of a residency training, and it was easy to treat. You just give them Matrigil, Flagyl, or even oral vancomycin, done, that's it. But now those bacteria don't listen to us anymore. Now, there are very drastic measures like fecal implants have to be done from a healthy patient's intestinal flora to the person who is diseased with C. difficile. I have seen in my practice 3 people dying of C. difficile, elderly people. We couldn't do anything. There was nothing available. So antibiotics is a major issue, antibiotic resistance. And other than that, milk also contains somatic cells and even pus, because these are all directly squeezed from the udders of the cow. And frequently the blood is mixed, the animal cells are mixed. All these things we are drinking, and we have no problem with that. So we have to understand. So 1 cup of milk, if you drink, has 24 milligrams of cholesterol. But next one will be more shocking. 1 cup of cheese has 256 milligrams of cholesterol. That means 1 cup of cheese equals to 10 cups of whole milk. I have people who are coming and telling me that, oh, I drink only skim milk. Oh, maybe 1%, 2%. You're counting cholesterol on one side, and your 1 slice of pizza takes care of it, or for several days of your reduction of your milk into 1% or 2%. So you have to realize cheese is one of the most damaging invention of humankind, no matter how tasty it is, but it's a really troublemaker. When these statin medications were coming out, I attended one lecture by a pharmaceutical company, and it was on statin, I think simvastatin or atorvastatin, I don't remember. But at that time, they showed the slides of the people who had died of heart attacks. And they actually showed their coronary arteries were clogged. And they dissected their hearts, and coronary arteries are like tree branches. There was a clogged plaques, totally 100% blocking all the arteries. They literally looked like cheese. And we were shocked that, oh my God, look at this. That day, nobody ordered any dessert, speak of it, because the cholesterol was a direct link of causing these heart attacks. So be careful. Cheese is one of the worst thing to consume. Yogurt, same thing, 1 cup, 24 milligrams of cholesterol. In ghee, 1 tablespoonful, 35 milligrams of cholesterol. With all the benefits of ghee, yes, it's still high in cholesterol. 1 egg, 187 milligrams of cholesterol is astronomical. And who consumes 1 egg? People have 2-3 eggs of omelet. So it's astronomical amount of cholesterol coming into our body. And this leads to high LDL, high cholesterol, heart attacks, and many other diseases like we talked about. Fish oil. There has been myth saying that fish oil is good for your heart. In fact, there was a recent study came out within last 3 to 4 weeks. They found out that fish oil does not prevent a heart disease. The myth about the fish oil came from Eskimos, that Eskimos consume so much fish and whales and all those sea animals, and they have very low amount of heart attacks. So the myth started that consuming the fish will be healthy for cholesterol. But look at this. 1 teaspoonful of fish oil has 104 milligrams of cholesterol. So you think you're helping your heart and you're consuming cholesterol. So finally, the study came out recently that omega-3 fatty acids in fish oil has no effect on reducing the incidence of coronary artery disease. But on the other side, plants have zero cholesterol. If you look at it, and you can Google it, and there also people have a lot of wrong thinking. People tell me, Doc, everything I understand, but what about cashews? If I eat cashews, they're loaded with cholesterol, right? I said, no, what did I tell you? Cholesterol is what makes the cell membrane for every single animal cell. Cashews grow on the trees. They are plants. Their cell walls are not made from cholesterol. So there is zero cholesterol, and you can Google it. Any plant-based diet, zero cholesterol in any plant-based food. Absolutely no cholesterol in cashews, pistachios, beans, potatoes, rice, you name it. And why is that? Why plants have zero cholesterol? Because unlike animal cells, plant cell walls are made from cellulose. Cellulose is fiber. Fiber means no cholesterol. It is insoluble in water, and it is the main constituent of the plant cell walls. It is a polysaccharide containing of the modified glucose molecules, but cellulose is indigestible. It cannot be absorbed in your body. So it has a beautiful function because the fiber does a wonderful things for your body. So one, what it does it, fiber has zero calories. Unlike cholesterol is loaded with calories. Fiber occupies your stomach, but gives you zero calories. So what happens when you eat the foods that are high in fiber, you filling your stomach that, okay, it's full, but you don't give you any calories. So you end up losing weight. Even though you're full, the cost wise, the calorie wise is nothing. Like if you want to fill your stomach, say with cookies or ice cream, it may cost you 450, 500 calories. But if the same stomach you want to fill, say with pasta or rice, even though it's plant-based, it will still cost you 250 calories because this is all polished, refined carbohydrates. But the same stomach, if you fill with vegetables, fresh vegetables, 20 calories, 450, 250, and 20. Why? Fiber. Fiber is the key. Fiber occupies your stomach, does not give you any calories. So it ends up making you lose weight. But this is not where the benefit of the fiber stops because fiber is rough. So what happens is when you eat fiber, it rubs against the inner lining of your cells inside your stomach and intestine. So what happens? The front cells, which are in the front, they get brushed away with the help of this kind of gritty fiber. It takes the cells out. So what happens is healthy cells, which are behind the young cells, come in the front because the old cells have a higher incidence of having cancer oncogenes. So old cells are more prone to develop intestinal cancers, but the young healthy cells have a cancer fighting genes. So they have less amount of oncogenes on their cell walls. So they have less chances of cause. So fiber, by taking the old cells away and bringing the new cells in the front, the young cells, reduces cancer. So that's another advantage. The third advantage is, remember, every cell in our body has a cell wall made out of cholesterol. So what that happens? So what fiber does it? I mean, normally we shed cells anyway. It goes into large intestine, but large intestine squeezes it and reabsorbs it and puts it back because cholesterol is very important for the body. Body doesn't want to let it go. So what happens is, but the fiber does a beautiful job. It not only sheds the dying cells, it works like a sponge and holds on to them. So when it comes into the large intestine cannot absorb those cells which are located inside this fiber. So when you move your bowels, it takes these cells out. So actually, if you look at this uh, Quaker oats, they put it in their box. We reduce cholesterol. They even have a data which they stopped putting it. They used to say 15%, but a lot of depends upon people's lifestyle. So fiber makes you lose weight. It reduces your incidence of cancer, and it reduces your cholesterol. How can you go wrong with it? You know. So fiber is very important, and you can get it only from the plants. Animals have zero fiber. So if you compare, for example, chicken versus black beans, 1 cup of chicken and 1 cup of black beans, there is I think there is a misnomer. The protein is 15 grams. I forgot to change it. The protein is 1 cup of chicken will give you 15 grams of protein. Black beans will also give you 15 grams of protein. Their cholesterol coming from 1 cup of chicken will be 123 milligrams of cholesterol. Black beans, again, plant-based, zero cholesterol. And the most important thing is the fiber. We're supposed to consume 60 grams of fiber every day. But chicken, being not growing on the plants, cannot give you any cholesterol, fiber, so 0 gram fiber. But black beans will give you 28 grams of fiber. 2 servings of black beans, not that necessarily we have to do that because we have so many different varieties of foods available, which will give you a lot of other fiber. So there are so many sources, but 1 cup of black beans will satisfy your fiber needs for 50% of it every day. And look at the cost. Approximate cost of a chicken, 1 cup of chicken will be $3. Black beans, 60 cents. Again, no brainer. So other problems with the milk, it raises your blood sugar, which I'll explain to you later. And hormones that we talked about. There are 9 hormones in the cow's body that comes into our body. So what does it do? And a lot of these are estrogen-like hormones, progesterone, uh, even testosterone-like hormones. There is another hormone called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. This is neutral. When it goes into your body, it selects. If you're a female, it will make you more female. If you're a male, it will make you more male. And that was the purpose of inserting these hormones in the milk by the nature, that if it goes from the cow's body to the calf, if the calf is a female calf, it has to become a cow. So IGF-1 will work like estrogen and will stimulate their sex centers and make them a cow. But the same IGF-1 will go into the male calf. It will turn them into a bull, but it was supposed to be. But we are already grown. What happens to us? They come and stimulate our sex centers, which are already stimulated at the puberty stage. And then this stimulates the breast tissues, cervix, uterus. Testosterone leads to growth of prostate and testicles. So all these tumors are going to be caused by the IGF-1. And more shameful thing, it even happens in young children because we feed them. Early puberty is very common in this country. In internet, I had read so many years back, 9-year-old girl pregnant. How do these things happen? Because of the milk. There is so much estrogen in our environment. In many different ways we consume estrogen, and not just the milk. There are also cosmetics are high in estrogen because everybody wants their skin to be supple. So all this cosmetic business doesn't come without its own price. So this hormones leads to early puberty, delayed menopause, uterine fibroids are caused by milk, breast cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancers, prostate cancer, even the acne in the children. You go to the skin specialist, then the first thing they say, stop the dairy products because of the acne. Again, they are hormonally modulated. The most I feel about is not adults. I feel sorry about the kids. Externally, they look like adults. So they are looked at by other people as adult, but inside there are children. So this creates a dichotomy. Inside they have emotions of a child and they are being treated as adult. Talk about the psychological impact on the society. It's really a crime. it's really a crime to rob their childhood away from them, in my mind. This comes after very deep reflection, and I hope it reflects onto your thinking also. And like we talked about, added antibiotics leads to drug resistance, and these natural hormones causes the IGF. So milk and diabetes, which I promise I'll show you the slide. Milk, 40% of the calories of the milk comes from lactose. That's why the milk has that sweet taste in it. And this lactose contributes to 40% of the calories. Lactose will definitely raise your sugar because lactose is sugar. An enzyme called lactase in our body, it splits it into glucose and galactose. Glucose is pure sugar, and galactose is a special protein. It's a glycoprotein. It gets stored in your liver, and whenever your body needs it, it suddenly converts into sugar and is available. So ultimately, the end result of lactose in the milk is sugar. So it's no surprise that milk and diabetes are interlinked, you know. And again, here, I think you should understand this lactase that we're talking about. And you know, we have lactate-free milk and all those things. How does that come into the picture? Do we ever realize? Human body was never supposed to have lactase enzyme in our body at all. But we are being fed the milk right from the beginning. So our body trains itself to start producing lactase enzyme. And then we realize that, okay, then the milk doesn't bother me anymore. But believe me, lactase is artificially created by our body to digest the milk. I came out of milk products for many years. Sometimes I tested the candies or cookies, or sometimes my old instinct came and I tried. But then I started having gas. I realized I lost my lactase. It is unphysiological to have lactase in our body. Not having lactase is physiologically normal. So I went back to my normal state. So you again might experience all these things if you try the vegan route. And again, that tells us that cows were added to our human society. They never existed as a part of our society. So this again, recombinant uh, growth hormones. These growth hormones are also injected to the cows because growth hormones actually increases the milk production 3 times. If you look at the udders of the cows walking, they will be literally rubbing on the ground because the milk production is the most important in the dairy industry. So they inject, these are routinely done, and you don't even know that. The only organic milk will be free from antibiotics and hormones, which will be, of course, 3 times the price. But even there is a catch, which I'll come to later on. But this recombinant growth hormone, which are being given to the cows, it increases the IGF-1 in the cow's milk. And again, we talked about the IGF-1 in humans, it promotes cancers. But this thing is routinely done so that they can have more milk available for consumers. But we are the one who are paying the price, not them. They fill their pockets, but they walk away. Milk and cancer, there is a unequivocal link established. First, there was an enzyme called diethylstilbestrol, which was routinely injected to the cows. And the studies came out and they found out that diethylstilbestrol is linked to breast cancer. That's when the government banned using diethylstilbestrol in the milk, in the dairy industry. So they stopped using it. But they are very conniving. What they do is they tweak the molecule of diethylstilbestrol and they turn into, say, monoethyl, triethyl, tetraethyl, whatever. And the studies takes many years to prove. The study was done with diethylstilbestrol, but study was never done with monoethyl or diethylstilbestrol, so it still goes on. So even right now, the estrogen-like hormones and chemicals are being routinely injected to the cows, and they all come in our body and we pay the price. Prostate cancer, the same thing. There's 11% rise in a prostate cancer risk by consuming the dairy products. WHO has classified processed meat as being cancer causing. It's nothing new. It has came out about 3-4 years back. They estimated anywhere from 40 to even 70% of the cancers are caused by Oh, there's two big ones. Please, everybody mute themselves. So World Health Organization, as biggest authority, has decided and has confirmed that there is meat has a cancer-causing potential. Milk and cancer, same. The casein, which is animal protein in the cow, and it contributes to promotion of all the stages of the cancer process. It came from China study. It was a very interesting study. And it was done in China because they still have societies where the villages are not intermingled with the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing. So they could do a study like compared to America, they won't be able to do because everything is cosmopolitan. So they actually studied a typical Chinese diet versus the diet in Shanghai and China, and Shanghai and Beijing in China. And they noticed the incidence of breast cancer was like 1 out of 38 women in villages and 1 out of 11 or 12 or 13 or 7. In US, there was a book written, which was very impressive book, and I always bring it up, Diet for New America, written by John Robbins, the son of Baskin Robbins, who is vegan, by the way. He wrote a beautiful book. At that time, it was 1980s. It was a bestseller book, and it's still very good book to refer. Has all scientific documentations and studies to prove. And at that time, 1 out of 10 women were getting breast cancer. Now we are seeing 1 out of 7 women getting breast cancers. It has become so rampant in this country, and it's all over. So the same thing they found in tremendous rise in the breast cancer risk in Shanghai and China. So Shanghai and Beijing in China. So it's very important to realize all these connections. So milk and osteoporosis, again, people think that milk makes your bones strong, but the countries where there is a more animal protein consumption actually shows more osteoporosis. Why? Data is not out yet, but there is a theory that milk being have a animal protein that turns your blood acidic. And this acid blood tries to leach calcium from your bones. It actually leads to osteoporosis. Think about it. In this country is one of the highest consumer of dairy products. And yet every third patient walking in my practice has osteoporosis. Why? We never think about all these things. We pick up the myth and we keep on going with it because we don't have to research anymore. It's been established by Facebook or the social media. And so a lot of this news come out are backed by the corporations and industries, and we never realize all these things. So we have to think about all these things. And if you really think about it, a lot of people ask me that if I drink milk, my bones will get stronger. My counter argument is, what do you think the cow eats? Do you think the cow gets milk? No, the cows never see their mother's milk. What do they eat? They eat grass. So why don't you eat grass then? So strong bones and osteoporosis has multifactorial disease. It depends a lot on your lifestyle, how much weightlifting you've been doing, how much physically active you've been, and a lot of appropriate foods you eat. All these things lead, and going away from it leads to osteoporosis. So it's a wrong thinking that consuming milk will make your bones strong. It's totally opposite, looks like. But definitely cows don't drink milk. They don't get milk, and they're stronger than us for sure. This is a very interesting concept that I wanted to bring it up. It's called Rule of 10. It may need little attention. This I came across when my son was young in 8th grade, biology. I was studying biology with him for his homework, and suddenly I came across this Rule of 10. And then I realized this is like an established rule by the biologists, and this rule is present throughout the world. And this was a very great observation they did, that what happens is, like they said that any organism, if it wants to consume calories from another organism, it can take only 10%. Like for example, a chicken wants to eat wheat, right? It will approach the stalk of wheat, but its roots, it cannot eat. The stalk, it cannot eat. Leaves are useless. Flowers are useless. Only the grains on the top, it can consume. So that's 10%. The rest of the plant held on to its own 90% calories for itself, for its own sustenance, right? So this is how the cycle works for rule of 10. So that means one chicken will not be satisfied consuming one stalk of wheat. So it will have to consume 10 stalks of wheat. So 10 stalks of wheat will support one chicken. But let's look at what happens. If a chicken has to be consumed by fox, for example, same rule applies. One chicken will not be good. Its meat is good for it, but the hooves, the bones, the feathers, the beak, all these things are useless. So fox will leave that behind. That's 90%. Again, this is an observed phenomenon by the biologists. Throughout, it's an established scientific rule. So 10 chickens are needed to support one fox. But one chicken needed 10 stalks of wheat. So indirectly, fox is consuming 100 plants of wheat indirectly by consuming 10 chickens, each chicken consuming 10 plants. So fox needs 100 plants of wheat to survive. And let's not even talk about the lion. Lion wants to kill the fox, 10 foxes, 100 chicken, and 1,000 plants of wheat. That's why lions and tigers need big territories to survive. And that's why they're becoming extinct. So we have to look at it the flip side. Supposing everybody comes at the chicken level, chicken being vegetarian. And at that time, there was no concept of veganism, so they put down vegetarian. And this was written in the book. They said that if everybody became vegetarian like chicken, then 70 to 80% of the farms will become useless. Why? Because we will be happy with 10% versus fox, which needs 10 times of that much land. And fox is being non-vegetarian, carnivorous people. So as you go higher on the food chain, you need more and more land to survive. Why do you think these rainforests are burning? Why do you think you drive? I drove to Yashomati, and we were in a camper. We drove, you drive 100 miles, 200 miles, you won't see a single person. All you see is farms and farms and farms. All these farms, 80, 90% of these farms are growing the food for the animals, not for us. That's why they say animal industry is contributing to 40% of the global house warming by producing all these carbohydrate destructions of the habitat. So supposing everybody did become vegan, so what will happen? We will need only 10% of the farmland. So what will happen to the other 90%? It will be left free. The jungles can grow on it. Millions of bird species can survive. Biodiversity will come back, and the greenhouse gases will be a thing of the past. All those leaves will consume the carbon dioxide from the air because the leaves are made out of carbon. So there are beautiful things available in the vegan lifestyle. So rule of 10, everybody should remember. So there was a story of bald eagles. At one time, our iconic bird, the national bird of America, was becoming extinct. And the reason was DDT, as the slide says. How the DDT affected the eagles? They were spraying DDT on the crops. Now it is outlawed. But that DDT used to come out through the water into the small streams, to the bigger streams, to the rivers, and ultimately to the ocean. In the ocean, the small fish will consume it. The bigger fish will consume the smaller fish. And ultimately, the bald eagles were highest on a food chain. So again, rule of 10. If you look at it, 10 wheat plants worth of chemicals will go into the vegan's body because they're not consuming, they are not foxes, they don't consume the chickens. But 100 plants worth of chemicals will go into the fox's body, and 1,000 plants worth of chemicals will go into the lion's body. So higher you go, you have more chemicals in your body, and chemicals we cannot do without. The whole society is exploding with chemicals. There is no way to avoid chemicals. So higher you go on a food chains, it's not a surprise that there is a more risk of cancer. So the lower you stay on a food chains, less chances of cancer. And there is more to explain, which I'll explain to later. But that's what happened in the bald eagles. DDT started accumulating in the eggshells, and the eggshells started becoming limp and loose, and it would break down before the babies had a chance to hatch. So bald eagles were losing babies right and left. So they stopped the DDT, and the bald eagles are coming back to life now. So very important message from a bald eagles. So same thing, like I said, the water producers, small fish, large fish, the higher you go on a food chain, there is a big price to pay. Same story happening in India. Vultures are becoming extinct. And there was one doctor, I think, or one very a philanthropist really became involved in this. And he found out that Voltaren, the diclofenac, which is a medication we take routinely for arthritis, osteoarthritis, we consume it. But veterinarian practices, they were also making the cows work so hard. So they were giving diclofenac to the cows so that their arthritis don't bother me. Look at the cruelty of the humans. They were making them work harder so that by giving the diclofenac so that they can work longer hours without complaining about the pain. And what happens when in the old practices, they used to leave the carcasses of the cows in the open fields, vultures will come and eat them. Vultures were very important part of the food chain. They would consume the cow and get rid of the diseases, plague, and things like that. But unfortunately, the diclofenac was good for humans to get rid of the pain and mammals, meaning the cow. But for reptiles, it was a poison. It killed, almost decimated. 90% of the vultures are gone in India. It's very unfortunate. Again, because of the veterinarian practices, again, supported by animal industry, which World Vegan Vision and millions of vegans are really against. So again, the CDC has released the data that 40% the diet is responsible for causing the cancer. Wait, my slides are not moving. I moved my cursor. Okay, so chemicals we were talking about, fat soluble. There are two kinds of chemicals, fat soluble and water soluble. So now imagine fat soluble animals are made out of cholesterol, remember. So every cell has cholesterol in it, and cholesterol is fat. And animal's body is made out of fat, like our body is not only our cells, but we are also designed to store the fat. That's how our ancestors survived, because they went on long days of finding the food, and they had to have the fat stores so that they could stay hungry longer. So our body is designed to store the body fat. So when we consume chemicals, we will be consuming two kinds of chemicals: fat soluble or water soluble. Now, plant-based food is mostly water-based, except the nuts. Nuts have fat in them. All the other foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, all these beans, all these things are very low in fat or none fat at all. So they are water-based. So chemicals, even if they come from the plant-based diet, will come in our body, and they are water soluble. And we are not designed like camels to hold on to the water. So when we drink water, we got to go. So the chemicals get flushed out. So very rapid transit from our body. So they cannot cause cancers that much. Compared to the fat soluble chemicals, they exclusively come from animal foods, because all the animals are made out of fat. So their chemicals get transferred from their body fat to our body fat, and they dissolve in our body fat, and we hold on to the fat for years. And these chemicals are slowly being released little by little. That's what causes cancers. So it's not a surprise that meat and animal products have been linked with cancer. So this is the mechanism that we need to understand. So let's actually see some of my patient studies, because like I said, I applied it in my life and I explained in detail. Sometimes it takes me half an hour, 45 minutes to carry out all this discussion, but I believe that once we do that, patients can understand better, and many patients have had success story. So I'll give you the first case study. This girl came to me. Her total cholesterol was 270, horrible cholesterol. She drove 3.5 miles, 3.5 hours to come see me from upstate New York. And she came to me for the first time, and I asked her, what made you come this far? He says, well, my mother lives in Montclair, And she told me, you're a good doctor, so I would like to come and see you. And she had come for, asthmatic bronchitis. So I took care of it and all that. He says, okay, is there anything else? He says, yeah, I have a high cholesterol, but I don't want to take a pill. So I went to my doctor and he says, you have to take a pill. Cholesterol is horrible. If your total cholesterol is 270 and look at the bad cholesterol, which should be 99, hers was 162. I looked at the data. I said, yeah, that is really bad. So I said, did you get any consult? He says, yeah, he sent me to endocrinologist. And he said the same thing that, you have to take a pill. Otherwise, you cannot really bring your cholesterol down. So she was asking me, is there any way to bring it down without medications? So I started laughing. So I asked her, I said, all right, well, you came to the right doctor or a different doctor. So I'm going to ask you one question, and I'll ask everybody the same question. If you try to catch something and it runs away, what would you do? And 90% of the people I ask, they give me one answer, that I'll run after it. If it try to run away, I'll run after it. But she was smart. She started smiling. She said, I will let it go. Animals have legs. Why do they have legs? They want to protect themselves. Trees don't have legs. Plants don't have legs. So that one argument somehow made her bite. He says, Doc, I'll do it. 8 weeks, she texted me. Very interesting text. She used some of the Indian languages. Dhanyavad, Shukriya. Thanks to your wisdom, my cholesterol dropped 105 points. Total cholesterol came down to 270 to 162. I could not believe it myself because I had been gone vegan gradual. So I never saw, dramatic drop in myself. But this was my first case that really reinforced my belief in vegan diet. So I said, this is really amazing. That proves the theory that the cholesterol comes from animal food. She was eating everything. Her fiance, ex-fiance now, was an Italian guy. So she had just come back from Italian trip, and in Italy they consumed everything, you name it. So she was full-fledged carnivorous, and going from that extreme to a whole food plant-based diet, she dropped her cholesterol 105. No medications. She was so impressed. Even this kind of drop we don't see even with medication, because average the statins drop about 28 to 30%. This was way more than that. Next patient, she had gone to see an ophthalmologist, and she never had a medical doctor. So I refer my patients to this doctor. And so he asked me, he said, don't you have a medical doctor? Go to Dr. Shah. I like him. He himself is my patient. So he tells her that, okay, go see him. So she comes first time, no really any previous history of anything, no symptoms, nothing. So routine test showed up cholesterol, 250. Bad cholesterol, 179 LDL. So again, I went through the same explanation like what I just did with you. And she said, okay, doc, I'm going to do it. She came back 8 weeks later. Her cholesterol dropped to 183. Bad cholesterol dropped to 98. She was so ecstatic. She says, doc, I'm staying vegan the rest of my life. I'm not going to change it. This is wonderful. And I would never want to take a pill. So I was very happy. So I said, just to be on safe side, let's check it again in 2 months. So this is what happened. Her cholesterol went up to 210, and her LDL, which used to be 98, became 113. I said, what happened here? I thought you're vegan. He says, yeah, I'm vegan still. He says, really? I think about it. So then it was a beautiful thing that she told me. Read the top. It says, after 8 weeks, but she remembered 4 weeks back, she had gone with her friends in Florida. She had one seafood restaurant dinner. One dinner 4 weeks before raised her LDL from 98 to 113. And it was a shock even for me, because we think, and then I repeated the same study on a lot of other patients. And I had done it myself also. One bad meal costs me elevated cholesterol for 6 weeks. We think that, okay, we had a pizza, okay, for today, next day, I didn't gain any weight, I'm digested it, I'm fine. Wrong. The cholesterol which is extracted from the pizza or any animal food, it circulates in your blood for 6 weeks. That's how it clogs the arteries. So there is no turning back once you go vegan. I mean, you can, of course, going step by step is the best way to go, yes, but eventually the goal should be total vegan diet. So not even one meal cost her a lot. So she went again, very committed vegan, and her LDL dropped to even better than what she had before. From 98, it was even 78. She was very happy. So it was wonderful, wonderful experience. This guy, a black guy, came to me. He was tremendously overweight, and his BMI was like 35. It should be like 25. His cholesterol was also 229. His bad cholesterol was 150. But look at A1C, which is diabetes, 7.1. And he never knew he was diabetic. So I explained to him, I'm just going to call him Dylan, to maintain his privacy. I said, Dylan, this is not right way to live. You have to understand all these things. So he wrote down everything. What I eat, I said, Doc, what do you eat? And all these things. And he wrote down everything. And the next time he came back, and his cholesterol dropped from 229 to 173. LDL dropped from 150 to 116. But look at his A1C. A1C became normal, 5.6 being normal, 7.1 to 5.4. I was so ecstatic. I said, Dylan, this is wonderful. So then he transferred files of his whole family to me. He was coming from, I don't know, about a couple of hours and all that. So he did that. And then his sister also became my patient. And then after the Christmas, like January or something, his sister had a physical, and she was talking. He said, but Doc, can I ask you something? I said, yeah, sure. I said, what did you do to Dylan? I said, what do you mean? He says, he has changed so much. I said, well, I mean, it's for good, right? He lost, like I said, 64 pounds in 6 months. He says, no. I happy with that, but there is something wrong with him. I said, what's wrong with him? He says, well, at Christmas time, we called him and he was looking for carrots instead of cakes. There is something wrong with him. So I was laughing. So it was funny. But he really maintained his diet on a long-term basis. He remained very thin and very healthy. So he's a very happy guy. So another patient, same thing, again, had a total cholesterol 223, bad cholesterol 144, A1C 7.6, and dropped to 2. Somehow there is a misnomer. So 170, the total cholesterol, and the LDL was 127, but the A1C dropped to 6.1. So a lot of examples are there. I have many people's data proving the improvement in the cholesterol and diabetes.
I'm Sister Susan, working in a school.
Listen to this.
I'm teaching in first grade. My diet is morning, I eat only fruits. Then afternoon, I eat for my lunch 1 cucumber and 3 celery sticks. Then dinner, I eat cooked vegetables and cucumber too. And I drink only almond milk. My sugar level is now, my A1C is, it was high 7.5, yes. And now it is 6.1 within 5 months. I think I can bring more down my A1C and I'm fine. So you can also follow this diet. You all will be fine. Also, my weight also is, I lost weight like 16 pounds. 16 pounds. 16 yes. pounds. Now
you're also eating the beans,
chickpeas, moong dal, and all kind
right.
beans.
Beans, yeah, beans right. Too. Excellent. Thank you.
So this sister has an interesting story. She's my patient. I was videotaping her. So she's from Kerala and she has settled over here. And then I always told her, I mean, she has diabetes, cholesterol and all. I always told her, sister, you should really change your diet. He says, yeah, I'll do it and all that. But like, and then ultimately she went to Kerala and she went to one of those nature cure centers and all that. The first thing they told them was exactly the raw food diet that I was talking about. But now she had paid the fees. She was going to do it and she did it. And that's where she got most of the results. So she came back smiling. He said, Doc, you were right. It was such a beautiful experience. But then after she came back, this is interesting what happened. So she dropped her sugar, her diabetes got better. But then what happened was, then her cholesterol went up again. So I said, what happened, sister? He says, well, doctor, I'm really being pressurized by other sisters, other nuns. They tell me that you don't eat right. You're not getting enough protein. you should eat at least an egg every day. So I'm like literally being forced my friends over there at convent to eat one egg omelet every day. And sometimes they force me two. I said, sister, it's 187 milligrams of cholesterol in one egg. I said, what were you eating that they told you to stop? So she said, I was eating mung dal. I said, I immediately Googled and explained to her, one egg, you know how much protein one egg has? 6 grams. And 1 cup of mung dal is almost 34 grams of protein. She started laughing. I said, they are the one need a lesson from you, not the other way around. So it was a beautiful story. So one of our member who is actually behind the camera, Avinash, he went vegan in 2016. He dropped his cholesterol from 223 to 164. His LDL dropped from 146 to 106. So he is a beautiful success story. And this person you will definitely recognize, Mr. Nitin Vyas. He kept losing a lot of weight. This is old data, but he has lost about 70 pounds. He's very energetic. You must see him in all the fields, being active everywhere. And it's a wonderful story. So like I said, make the change, whatever you want to bring the change it yourself first. Then it will come with the full force. That's why when Nitin Bhai came to me, when we organized and converted the vegetarian vision into world vegan vision, he had one question for me. He said, Dr. Shah, how do I bring the passion into this? I myself is not vegan yet. I'm vegetarian, yes, but I'm not vegan. What do I do? So I told him a little story. I'll explain. So he says, once I was, it's a story. I was walking by a temple that was being created. So one person was chiseling the stones. And I asked him, he says, what are you doing? And he was so angry. Don't you see? I'm breaking the stone so that they can make this temple. But I have to feed my family. And I have to do it. Otherwise, I'll die. So the next person comes in, and I go further. And he was a little bit happy. He says, Doc, I'm doing the same thing, but at least it's bringing money in my house. So I'm happy. At the end of the day, I can sustain my wife and children. So third guy I went to, he was not only breaking the stone, but he was smiling and singing the tunes, bhajans, and all that. I said, what is the secret? You all are doing the same thing, but you're so happy. He says, sir, I'm making temple for God. So he was in it. So whatever you do in life, be in it. And then you will see the results. And that's what he did. And that was a very, very great success story, Nitin Bhai. So I'm very proud of him having with us. So that passion takes us a long time and long way. And that's what I am here. And that's why many vegans are all over the world. So we cannot finish the talk without talking about the cruelty that is committed on innocent animals just for food on the stomach, where we can have alternatives available like a vegan diet. We can fill our stomachs with very healthy foods like we explained, low in cholesterol, high in fiber, prevent diseases, and all these things are available. Instead of that, we commit cruelty on innocent animals. And that aspect has to be touched a little bit at least, because World Vegan Vision stands for against the animal cruelty. If you look at that, like we explained, the milk belongs to the baby calf. We are literally stealing the milk away from the baby calf. I'll tell you a story. I climbed Kilimanjaro once, and I was there with 4 friends, and they took us to a Maasai village, all right? And just for, it's like a day trip. And so we went there, and one of my friends wanted to have an experience of milking the cow. So they gave him a container. He goes to the cow, and he starts milking. The milk won't come. So Maasai women started laughing. So he started looking at them. He says, what am I doing wrong? He looked at me. I said, don't look at me. I don't milk the cows. So the Maasai women were laughing, and they could not stop themselves. Finally, if you try to think about that answer, most of the people would not get the answers. But I asked these questions to some of my patients. They got the answers because they were Patels. They were farmers. They grew up on the farms. They said, yes, without the calf, the flow of the milk will not start. So that's exactly Masai women did. They brought the calf and let them suckle on one side, and then only the flow of the milk started, that he could milk it. Do you see any cruelty in this? That it does not belong to us. I do, with my heart. Same thing, this was a turning point for me, the artificial insemination. This is routinely being done in veterinarian practice, because in the old days when the farmers had a big, herd of cows and bulls and all that, he would let them alone on the farms. And internally, whenever the cow would have internal sensation to get pregnant, they will mate and a calf will be born. And farmer will be happy. He will thank the God that he has an extra calf available, which will turn into cow or a bull. And he's he was considering that as his wealth. But not anymore. Nobody can wait for the cow to get pregnant. So artificial insemination is routinely done. This is a common practice in veterinarian. As I was going vegan, I was also going into spirituality and meditation. And I reflected on this thought. I said, artificial insemination is what? One day the cow is standing, artificial insemination is done, and the next day the pregnancy starts. Did we ask the cow to get pregnant, whether it wants to get pregnant or not? What will be the same crime in human society called? It would be a rape. Any unwanted pregnancy would be called a rape. It really bothered me because at some point I was living at a body level. I had my desires. I liked the products, the dairy products, and I used to consume them. But then I started reading all these things. So I raised myself to the mind level. Yes, I was doing it. I would go to the parties. I would not consume the dairy products, knowing all these things. But inside always told me that I liked it. And I could literally feel jealous that other people were enjoying and I was not. But still somehow I maintained it. I left the party. After half an hour, the desire is gone. So I felt a little comfortable. But still I had a mind that was active. Mind splits you, gives you two opinions, good, bad, and you select. So it always makes you run between this and this and that, right decision, wrong decision, all that. But when I was meditating, at some point I learned how to go beyond the mind. And when I hit the soul is one. Soul does not divide. From inside, the voice comes that this is rape. At that point, I said, well, that means every single product of milk is rape. It's not for me. I give it up. Now, every time I go to the party and I do not consume dairy products, I love it. I enjoy it because some cow is benefiting because of my not choosing the dairy products. This is the way to live life at the soul level, not at the mind and not at the body level. Everybody lives at the body level. Some people live at the mind level. Very few people live at the soul level. And my turning into veganism also gave me a rare glimpse of experience of samadhi state, which is a thoughtless state, which is a beautiful state. Everybody should, but that's another discussion altogether. So what I'm saying is artificial insemination is ethically wrong. And there are other things that I should even want to bring it up, even if it takes a little time, but it's really atrocious. When the cow is pregnant, it delivers the calf, and then the flow starts, typically, as all mother's body goes through. That mother's produces milk. So I always thought that, yes, I thought about it, that yes, to produce the milk, the cow has to get pregnant and then has to deliver, and then the milk starts, of course, for the calf and for the humans and all that. But at a year and a half, 2 years, the production will start going down. So they will artificially inseminate again, and another pregnancy will start, and then another, and then another. There used to be a time the cows used to be sent to the slaughterhouse at the age of 12. And now they are being sent at the age of 6, because by repeatedly making them pregnant, you are depleting their eggs. So once the eggs are depleted, they are useless. So I deeply thought about it, that if this was my wife, my sister, my mother being subjected to this, that 9 months of pregnancy, which is not easy task, deliver the baby, which will never see, they will never see their face again, and the baby will never get their milk again. Milk will be sold on the streets for pleasure. Nobody drinks milk for health. Everybody utilizes the argument that it's healthy. Yes, maybe, but obviously we know it's not healthy. But all the products of the milk are consumed for pleasure. So if the milk of my own people is sold on the streets for pleasure, how would I feel? So that really breaks my heart. There is one more atrocious thing that we should know, that 9 months of pregnancy and then deliver the baby and a year and a half of break from pregnancy. This is not happening in America. What is happening in America is even worse. Believe it or not, they artificially inseminate them while they are producing the milk. Now, theoretically, everybody argues that yes, while the milk is being produced, a female cannot get pregnant. Wrong. It's not true. Pregnancy can start. Artificial insemination. So after the delivery is done and the lactation period is started, where they're giving the milk to the cows, to the calves or humans, they make them artificially, they impregnate them again. And this is a big deal. This is not allowed in European countries. And the reason is pregnancy means high estrogen state. Normally in a female cycle, the estrogen level is at its lowest level after the period is over. And then the estrogen level starts going up. It reaches to the max to the next period and then suddenly drops. When it drops, the inner lining of uterus sheds and woman gets a period, unless she got pregnant in between. If she gets pregnant, then her estrogen level keeps going up and up and up and up. That builds up her body ready to have conceived a child. So that's what happens in pregnancy. So pregnancy is a high and estrogen state. That means a normal calf, if it is delivers and not pregnant, have a different amount of estrogen. But if a lactating cow is made pregnant again, that high estrogen in her body will also come into your milk. That's how milk causes breast cancers. And that's why, being it's unethical, they do not allow in Europe. But who knows, with the economy, a lot of things are intermingling and things are changing. But that's another fact that is happening routinely in dairy industry. Now, people have arguments that, Krishna always consume dahi, yogurt. What's wrong with that? But when Krishna was consuming yogurt or curd, he was a kid. He was growing up with the traditions of the society. But would you agree that Krishna was in his highest state of mind or state of samadhi when he delivered Gita? This is the slok in 9th chapter, the 26th slok. He says, Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam. Patra means leaf. Pushpa means flower. Phalam, far, fruit. Toyam is water. He says, give me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, and I will affectionately accept that devotional offering from that pure-hearted being. So they want us to be pure-hearted, without any cruelty, and consume, because the Krishna, the consciousness, is within us. We do not have Krishna, the shepherd boy, with us to guide us like Arjun did. Our consciousness is the Krishna consciousness. He's omnipotent, omnipresent, available to everyone. So that connection with the consciousness tells you that the cruelty is not good. You're not offering the food to Krishna with a pure heart. Again, I was giving another talk, and one of the sect that follows Gita very closely, he asked me, one of the monk, and he says, but Dr. Shah, in our practice, in our temple, we always offer food to Krishna first before we consume. And here you're telling us that you consume first and give it to Krishna. What is the difference? So I was laughing and I said, sir, you are really mistaking the statue of Gita with Krishna, the consciousness. It is alive. present right now. Statue is not Krishna. Statue is also Krishna, but you are also Krishna. I am also Krishna if we all coincide at the consciousness level. So that's why my actions will offer to Krishna within me. And Krishna is telling you in Bhagavad Gita, which we cannot refute even. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. It's a beautiful slok. And Mahavir, Jainism, another great pillar of ahimsa, non-violence, it says that one should not injure, subjugate, enslave, torture, or kill any living beings, including animals, living organisms, and sentient beings. This doctrine of non-violence, ahimsa dharma, non-violence, is immaculate, immutable, and eternal. Look at the power behind Mahavir's statement. Look at the strength he had, because his strength came from Atma, not from mind and not from the body. He was not deviated. Mind and body doesn't mean anything once the Atma is approached. And he spoke at the Atma level. So this is again comes from Mahavir, the great proponent of nonviolence. And that's why after 2,500 years, we're still quoting him and Krishna and even Jesus. Look at this. Genesis says that God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, every tree in the which is fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you, it will be the meat. So you do not need to eat meat. Even Bible says that. So there are great supports available at the religious level also. So my argument and our argument at World Vegan Vision is that there are a lot of available diets for weight loss, and people all want to lose weight all over the world. DASH diet, Mediterranean diet, South Beach diet, keto diet, paleo diet, and many more. But whole food, plant-based diet, vegan diet helps you lose weight and also teaches you compassion. Compassion is the pillar on which Mr. H.K. Shah started the Vegetarian Society, Vegetarian Vision 30 years back. That was his central pillar to spread the compassion. He started when nobody had even heard of vegetarian diet, let alone vegan. Vegan came into picture later on. And that's how we have evolved. So our central message is the compassion, because every time you eat, you can be compassionate towards the animals. And every dinner plate, you can eventually, that compassion can turn into compassion for other people, your next door neighbor, your employees, your friends, your enemies. Ultimately, we can achieve the world peace. This is the ultimate goal of World Vegan Vision. So the one more thing I would like to bring it up before we close is that vegan diet is still not an optimum diet, but whole food plant-based diet, and reasons you probably know, the whole food plant-based diet means anywhere from 50 to 70% raw food diet, uncooked, which is high in fiber and full of chemicals. Because when we cook, what do? We add salt, we add sugars, we add oils. All these things are, of course, injurious to your health. So even under the vegan umbrella, we have to be careful. Even bread, for example, concentrated carbohydrates, all those things can cause other diseases. So even at the vegan level, we have to be careful. So I'm gonna open it for the questions. Avinash Bhai, you want to open up podium? Unmute everyone.
Excellent, excellent. Very nice, very informative, very precise. Enjoyed it. I think you're very, very blessed to have had this intellectual discussion, and I'm sure everybody will benefit from it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, our president, Mr. H.K. Shah, is here,
Right here.
and we would like to see if he would like to say a few words.
Favorite message, we want to talk to you. That's what it is.
Yeah, he needs to. Okay, now we can.
Sir,
Yeah.
good speech, good information, and I hope several people who are here, some of them change their life as soon as possible, and they will do it. Good following. We are trying to convince the people in a nice way. Thank you for your good speech.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? I'm ready.
Dr. Shah, just 1 minute. There is one more person, Mr. Vishal Daftuar.
Yes,
and he has a very great program from his bank, and he would like to say a couple of words about it.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you, Avinash, and Dr. Shah. What a fantastic presentation! So thank you very much. I learned a tremendous amount.
Thank you.
I have to say, I was a voracious meat eater until March, and I became I decided to do the 8-week challenge through the World Vegan Vision, and I ended up not going back. And so I'm now. So I've been a full-fledged vegan since March, and I can't say I've never felt better before. And I've lost a tremendous amount of weight, and my cholesterol has improved a great deal. And I could be one of those success stories that Dr. Shah described. I just need to send you a picture, I guess, of before and after.
Yes. And your cholesterol numbers.
Yes, I will do. So just a little background. I'm happy to say that World Vegan Vision is one of my clients, as I'm a business banker at Investors Bank, and I'm happy to say that I work with them. And we an excellent way to support the organization is through our Care to Share program. So basically, if people who open an account at Investors Bank, we will, for anyone who opens an account with Investors Bank, we will actually make a donation. Investors Bank will make a donation to World Vegan Vision every quarter automatically, just based on the balances that the people who want to support them keep at Investors Bank. So personal accounts, business accounts, those are all eligible to support World Vegan Vision. So I can, in the chat, I can put my email address and phone number. If anyone is interested in discussing that, I'm happy to talk with you. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. Okay, anyone has questions? Now is the time. Please unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Hi, this is Mayuri Doshi. I have a question for Dr. Shah.
Yes.
You said that if you become completely vegan, then you have to stop having ghee, right? Dairy products means butter and ghee. We don't eat butter, but ghee very seldom. So then what kind of oil do you recommend for people who have a high cholesterol and high LDL? Is there any specific oil that you recommend,
Most of the oils would be good as long as they are plant-based. They would have zero cholesterol. The only thing is like coconut oil is high in saturated fat, even though there are a lot of benefits to coconut oil. But the FDA, again, I don't trust the FDA too much, but still they have a high saturated fat. So I usually recommend people to stay away from the oils which have a high saturated fat percentage. So one of the best that I have seen statistically is a canola oil.
Canola oil? Okay.
Is the lowest in saturated fats, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Shah, do you have a contact number or something that we can follow up if you don't mind, or we can come and see you if you have a contact number or address, if you can share it?
Yeah, you can write down my office number.
Sure. And put the second slide up, Doctor. Put the second slide up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, let me do that.
Okay. Which slide my address number second slide.
Yeah, here it is. You can write.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to write that. 55. Bloomfield. Okay.
Are you in WhatsApp also, or?
No, I'm not in WhatsApp.
Maybe it will be a good thing because we have a good group going on in the World Vegan Vision, and there, like you asked me a question, I answered. Then a lot of other people, well, 200 plus people in that, so they all benefit. So I think that will be another way to approach me also, because I frequently.
Okay, with this same phone number?
It's in, well, Avinash probably can guide you to join
Okay.
WhatsApp.
Okay.
You need a WhatsApp, and then somebody has to be to invite you, I guess, through a link.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I do have WhatsApp. Okay. So I'll contact Avinash Bhai. Okay.
yeah, right, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So canola oil is the best option
Canola
right
oil,
now,
I think,
right?
is best. Despite the popular belief that olive oil, again, it's all hype. So
Okay.
olive oil is still has a higher saturated fat in percentage than the canola oil.
So, okay. So number one is canola oil. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And they also, somebody had raised an issue about the yogurt. They have, Chobani has a non-dairy yogurt available. So it can be consumed. So in place of that, milk, as we already know, there is almond milk, soy milk, even oat milk. Oat milk is very close to the taste, at least. There is another one, is coming out, it's already out, called Ripple, R-I-P-P-L-E, which is made from pea protein, which has the same amount of protein even, because most of the other milks like almond milk, they fall short they of course look like milk and can be used like a milk and all that, but they are low in protein, because one glass of milk can give you 8 grams of protein, but the Ripple gives exactly the 8 grams because it comes from the pea protein. So made come from peas, so which has a higher percentage of protein, so which is actually very nutritious also. So there are a lot of things available now. There is, uh, game changers. As you can see, the James Cameron made out that documentary, came on Netflix, is worth watching. And it's very convincing because a lot of athletes and all that, they have gone vegan with tremendously beautiful results, So that will be something to watch. But it's all over the shelves, you know, a lot of burgers are changing it to plant-based diets and all that, so it's becoming a really mainstream. Even the ice creams are available, and I taste
Yes.
it, even though it's not necessarily healthy because of the sugar content, but I consume just to see. Actually, some of them that made from cashew milk are so much actually tasting better than the regular ice cream, believe it or not. So you should
Yes.
give it a try. Yeah. There are some Ben and Jerry, one of the famous, they are going, Haagen-Dazs even producing vegan ice creams now. So it has become, as we keep on, asking for more for consumers, the market will change. The corporations
Yes.
have to change.
I have put the link for WhatsApp in our chat. So if you go in the chat and click on the link, you can join WhatsApp group.
Okay.
And I think we have the site also, right? World Vegan Vision, so you can log into the
Website.
Hello,
Website.
Yeah.
Dr. Shah, can you repeat the movie in Netflix, the one you said something Cameron something?
James Cameron, the guy who made Avatar, he made this
Movie.
Game changers.
Game Changers.
Game.
Actually, if you go on our website, we have about 50 different videos and movies listed there.
Okay.
Yeah, even there is another one, What the Health. There's a nice documentary. What the Health. And
And
another
what
one.
about the bread or the roti? What can we eat?
Great. That's another discussion altogether. We could have another lecture on it actually, because again, as I explained, the farming carbohydrates were never really part of our diet before the farming started. But the carbohydrate has become such a big thing, and we don't realize because these are all polished carbohydrate, and they are very concentrated. They give us a lot of sugar. Basically, carbohydrates don't taste sweet, but as soon as they go in our body, turn into sugar. And so actually I did a lot of calculations. I did a lot of research in it. One roti costs you 6.5 teaspoonful of sugar. One bakri, Gujarati bakri, will be 13 teaspoonful of sugar.
Oh, wow.
One cup of rice is 20 teaspoonful of sugar. And one cup of corn is 60 teaspoonful of sugar. They make corn syrup out of it. So
So what is the substitute for the roti and the bread?
that's the thing. So I did, my whole life is an experiment, and I wanted to benefit myself and the patients. So this is what I did. So I realized that Trader Joe's sell sprout bean bread, right? So it's very common, and a lot of people consume, people who don't want carbohydrates, they buy sprout bean bread. So I said, well, I mean, that's too fancy. but how do you make it in a daily life? So I realized that I started experimenting myself. So I don't have diabetes, but at one time my A1C came 5.7. So I realized that I had to give up roti because my research told me that. So I gave up roti, came down to 5.4, by the way. But what I did was I got mung flour. So mung flour is protein. And then combined with almond flour, which is available in Costco, and chana besan, which is again grams of chana. So that's protein. They have very little carbs. They are not concentrated carbohydrates. And I started experimenting. We made bakri out of it. We cannot make roti out of it. We made bakri out of it, and successfully. I started, this is all I eat. After 4 or 5 years, I've been changing that. I don't have any problem. And I have, again, success stories in my own practice with that also. I just had one guy, he comes to me to see me from Parsippany, and his A1C was 7.9, and consistently, never would come down. I had to keep adding medications and all that. And I got very upset. I said, you're such a nice guy. You smile all the time, but why can't you make a little change? He said, okay, doc, I'll do it for you. He did it. He started eating moong, chana, and almond bhakri. 3 months. His A1C came down from 7.9 to 6.2.
And doctor, can you tell me the proportion of moong
I
flour,
recommend
almond
like
flour, and besan?
30% moong flour, 30% chana, and 40% almond flour. No added oil, because almond flour will generate oil.
No, 30% of
Moong dal and chana besan, 30% each.
Okay, and 40%
40% almond flour.
almond flour.
Yeah, it works very well. It tastes good, and it is doable. I have a lot of patients. I have another guy who owns actually restaurant chains in Parsippany and Edison and all that. He himself had 8.1, and his parents also 8.1, 8.2. So I taught to them, and they started loving it. They started putting methi leaves in that and all this mixture combination, and they're loving it. So 3 months later, believe it or not, all three came at 6.1.
So if I put all these flowers together, I use a little bit of a water to make the dough.
Yeah. Water, of course, you have
just
to.
make it the same way.
You don't
like
need oil because of the almond flour. You don't need oil.
Okay.
And the another thing I tell people to do is stop the rice. Instead of that, eat quinoa, because quinoa is whole grain, has more fiber, and has 11 amino acids. So it's like considered a complete meal. Very few diets have 11 amino acids. All of them.
Somebody mute their TV.
Actually, we knew that there will be a lot of questions about how to make the vegan food. So we have a follow-up lecture next week.
Oh, good.
Next
Good.
week, we have that.
It will be a whole hour of just cooking.
Correct. Yeah. I would recommend that. But this was my personal experience. I'm not much into recipes because I am a whole food plant-based diet. My diet throughout the day is like sister mentioned, raw food all day long. Only one cooked meal in the evening. So what to cook and how to cook, that, next lecture will be very important, next Wednesday. All right. So I guess so much for today then, if there is no more questions. All right. It's my pleasure to express
Very good.
and my experience.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
informative.
Thank you.